All right, we are back now. So now that we have our backstory, you kind of understand how we got to this point. Co-parenting with the narcissist, how we met. So this is part 3, and hopefully the final part of how we met. So the simple facts are how we met. I was vulnerable. He was very charming. Everything started out like exactly like I thought. Everything that I thought I wanted, everything I thought I needed. He said all the right things. He showed up whenever I needed him to show up. And he was very, very, very intense. Basically, all the things that he does now that's like a turn off and irritate me and get on my nerves, those were all the things he was doing in the very first beginning, but I just wasn't used to that. Like I said, red flags were all over the place. Like I said, find out that he's in all these different relationships, but I'm like, hey, I'm safe, right? Because I can't have any children. The doctors told me I couldn't have any. So I'm thinking I'm on the safe side of the thing. I'm on the outside looking in of him and all his other relationships. People calling him, cussing him out, doing, just saying all kind of crazy stuff to him because he's not being honest and different things like that. But like I said, God has a way of doing things in his timing. The doctors told me that I couldn't have any children because I had PCOS. They said that I would have to take hormones. I was married before, and we tried. And I was taking hormones, and we still didn't get pregnant. And so I was like, okay, this is just a fun time. We were using protection, of course. It's a fun time. We're using protection. And like I said, because of my background, he was all about doing fun stuff. He was always on the go. He was always moving. Anytime I called him, he was always there. Like, whatever I needed help with, it didn't matter what it was. Either he would do it or he knew somebody that could do it. Like we said, plumbing, the massage therapy, anything dealing with hair, eyebrows. He knew how to do that. He knew how to do all of that. They owned their own barbershop. They had a insurance office. They were having all these different types of meetings, and they had they had all kind of stuff going on, so I mean, stayed busy, stayed on the go. But like I said, with me being a disabled veteran, there's a lot of things that I need help with. And like I was saying, if you're in a relationship with a person that has disabilities, please help them, because the relationships that I were in previously, I got talked about and I got made fun of because of my disability. People told me I was lying, that I wasn't being honest, because they saw me doing things. But just because you see a disabled person doing things, that doesn't mean that they're supposed to be doing it. And God forbid something happens to them while they're doing something, they shouldn't be doing, because they don't have the help that they need, or they can't get the help from their partner, or maybe they have too much pride. I don't know. I don't know what the reasons might be. But like I said, I dealt with people in the past that I literally had to beg them to help me with stuff that I needed help with, because they looked at me like, there's nothing wrong with you. Why do you need help with this or that? And I'm like, I shouldn't have to explain to you or take you to the doctor with me for you to help me. But anyway, he said all the right things, did all the right things in the beginning. And me thinking that I'm not going to have any children without taking hormones, like I said, it was a fun time. We were using protection. But all it takes is one time. When they tell you that, that's true. All it takes is one time. I saw that he had his whole roller coaster of women. I saw that he was still in relationship with his other 2 children's mothers. And I said, oh, well, I don't have to worry about none of that because I'm not having any children. And now I have 2. Not 1, but 2. I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I'm having to co-parent with this person now. So keep that in mind when you're dealing with a toxic person or a narcissistic person. When you see all those red flags, you need to get away from them and run from them. No matter what they're doing that's beneficial to you or whatever it is that's appealing to you, you need to do whatever you need to do to shake yourself back to reality and be like, look, I need to leave this person alone. I need to figure out how to let this person go. And contrary to popular belief, me and him, we stayed together as long as we did, and it wasn't about the intimacy or the sex thing with me. It wasn't about that. It was about the fact that because I was about to get rid of him before I found out I was pregnant. Then once I found out I was pregnant, I was like, I don't want my child to, which is what I'm doing. I didn't want to be a single parent, right? So I was like, you know what? We need to have a conversation. So we sat down, had a long conversation. And he lied because look at where we are now. So he lied. I said, this is a sign. You have 2 other sets of children that you were not there for. Now this is your 3rd chance to get it right. Oh yeah, he said all the right things, did all the right things. He was there, in times that was needed, but also during the pregnancy, my pregnancy was very turbulent and very tumultuous because of the other people that he had in his life that he didn't want to let go and stop fooling around with and fooling with. So when I sat back and I realized, I'm like, okay, this person is not going to change. They are a pathological liar. They want to live not just a double life. They want to lead like multiple lives at a time. You want to have all these women on your team, basically. You just want to like reshuffle and rearrange everybody around on your merry-go-round is what I call it. It's like I have to figure out a way to get off this merry-go-round because you're not going to get me again. But also in the back of my mind, I'm thinking I don't want my child to grow up in a single parent home. I didn't want that for him. So that was the reason why I stayed like I did, is because I didn't want him to grow up in a single parent home. But you see where I am now. He's in a single parent home. So keep that in mind also if you're in a relationship, that it's better for you to leave and figure it out than to be in a toxic relationship or a toxic situation. Because thank God that things didn't turn like they could have turned, because I can go into detail in another part about that, about how crazy he was acting when we were down there and doing crazy stuff that didn't make sense. And the reasons why we ended up relocating was because he was acting crazy and I didn't want to be a statistic. But anyway, all the things that he did in the beginning when we first met, I don't blame myself for any of it, and I don't feel like I fell for anything. I feel like I was vulnerable. He met me during a vulnerable time, and that's what narcissists like to do. He was very charming. He said all the right things, did all the right things. And even though I saw red flags, they weren't red flags to me at the time because, like I said, I had another thought process in mind when I met him. So, he did everything that he could. And like I said, they are chameleons too. The narcissists are chameleons. They become whoever they need to become to get whatever they want out of that situation or out of that person. So he was a chameleon. He was one way with me, then he would be another way with whoever else he was with. He became whoever you needed him to become during that moment, but he's never planned on being full-time. He always wants to be part-time. That's why he has so many different women on his roster, is because he only had to be a certain way with you when he was with you, but then when he was with somebody else, he could be a different way. Every female is different, and he became, like that song, I'm Every Woman, he became whatever he needed to be to, keep that person, on the hook. And that is another characteristic of a narcissist. So I have forgiven myself for, the decisions and choices that I made. I don't regret any of them because I have 2 beautiful children, 2 handsome sons that are going to grow to be great men. And I'm doing my best to give them a great foundation, so they'll know that they don't want to go down this path, So now I'm choosing myself, and how we met, that doesn't define me at all. So don't blame yourself and don't dog yourself out, for being in the position or being stuck in a relationship if you don't know how to get out of it. Because I was trying to figure out how to get out of it, and he blessed me by leaving. That was a blessing in disguise, actually, when he disappeared like he did, because he didn't want to be responsible anymore. He did not want to be a responsible person. That's why he left. He blamed it on a lot of things, but he just didn't want to be. He was tired of being responsible, because you think about it, he had to take care of me, and he had to take care of those 2 boys, and he got tired of doing it. And now he left me stuck with it. But anyway, that's the backstory of how we met. But like I said, don't blame yourself. I don't blame myself. He took advantage of me, and I'm not angry with him about that. That the feelings I have toward him, it has to do with my children and the fact that they don't have a full-time father in their life. But like I said, stay tuned for the next part. This is very therapeutic for me, being able to get all this out. Hopefully you learned something from me as I learned something from you. I'll see you guys on the next part. Peace.